Hey guys, Will here. Thought I would do an updated walkthrough of how I'm using my spreadsheet these days since I've made a lot of improvements to it with regards to the raid changes and the new video that DL came out with as far as efficient gear farming. So hopefully you watched the first video. If not, I'll leave a link in the top right so you can check that out so you can kind of get an idea of um, the basics of this. I'm just going to go right into a sample farm and how to use the updated version of the spreadsheet. So for this, we're going to do Java, and with Java, JKL is a nested requirement, so we want to include him as well. Well, as requirements rather. And so this will give us everyone for Java, including JKL and his requirements, but don't forget to add Java himself or whoever you're farming, since obviously that's going to be a lot of gear as well. Um, and I'll go through kind of how I've changed the spreadsheet to kind of make life easier when it comes to like tracking stuff like bonziums. CCBs, generally not an issue. Just buy a few of the 500 crystal packs out of the store per month, and that should be it. So I don't think there's much more to say on that. So same as before, we are going to make a copy of the template, and we're going to kind of just go through from top to bottom. Bronziums, 1, and chromiums. I have a ton of chromiums. They're generally not they're still not any sort of bottleneck, at least in my experience, so I wouldn't worry too much about them. If they are for you, you need to farm the Shockpod node more so you can get those Mark 7 bar armor mods. Okay, so that does it for relic materials. I have plenty of impulse detonators. That's why we have a couple relicates in the requirements and you don't see those. Same with arrow magnifiers. Obviously, you would need to put those in if you did need them. And same as what I typically do, if I don't need it, I am going to remove it just to kind of clean things up. So we're going to get rid of that. And of course, same as before, remove where you need to get rid of the ref arrows. You're still going to see one here. It's probably further up. No, actually, it's because we removed some of the wild stuff. So a little bit of a manual entry. And then so a lot of what's new is going to be kind of in this middle area. I did add a Zeta worksheets, and also like right here you can see that there's bank Zeta mats, how many Zeta mats you have on hand, and this needed is going to kind of come up from here. So if I put Java, and we know you need 6 Zetas, it's going to say you need 120 Zeta mats for the farm, and then this is a calculation of how much you're accumulating. This is based off of these settings here, so you can change this. Hopefully you have the special events for Ender and Dathomir for 7-star Wicket and Towson. If not, I highly encourage you to get that. And then also TW, GAC, Conquest, you can manipulate all these as you need to, and then you can also put in how many Zeta mats per month you expect to get from the fleet store. So all of that can be edited to your specific situation. And then a lot of changes kind of came into this middle. Like I said, shard shop currency, that's not really going to be any different. One thing to call out, this is a good place to get Mark 6 droid collars now because they are pretty expensive for Mark 1 raid currency. For the get one gear needed, with Liquidor's recommendation, Mark 7 detonators and Nebian techs are preferable, but if you need any of this stuff, then obviously you can use it for that as well. Or if you need to save it for Malik, you can just get rid of this part and not use it. Same with Get 2, and Get 2 if you are still saving for Malevolence or Negotiator, that's fine. Otherwise, the more I look at it, I think this is the best way to use this would be for injectors. So that's that. And then Get 3, if you want shards for Cat or Mole, have fun. Otherwise, Kairos. ideally comps, because you want to be farming that shock prod node as much as possible. Guild store, the best thing to spend guild currency on now is going to be anything that converts to bronzium wiring, such as Mark 4, 5, or 6 weapon mods. It's great for Mark 4 back gel, same with Mark 6 droid cores. And for Mark 1 raid gear, what you see is what you get. If you need it, you put it in, and we'll go through that, so that's fine. Same with Mark 2, and then Mark 3, like say if you needed arrow magnifiers, this is where you would come down and punch in your 20 or 40 arrows that you need, or what have you. So, that being said, so we need 1158 fragmented signal data, and this is going to be different from how I did it originally, punching it here and over here, and the reason for that is I have formulas now to calculate how much you're getting from challenge tier 2 and 3 for the assault battles, because that does reduce it a little bit. So that's why I kind of moved it over into the middle area. So, and also make sure update your, how much you're spending on fleet energy and regular energy and how many cantina refreshes you're doing. I believe that's the same. Fleet energy, I am spending 300 to 400 a day now, just because Gear 12 is not really much of a bottleneck anymore. Well, it's not one at all, really. Okay, so injectors, 158, 2.7. These are still a bottleneck to some degree, and we'll see that as we go through here. We need 1501. Oh, anyways, that's fine. As before, these bottlenecks will just start to reduce as we get down. So we need 3,200 carbones, which isn't surprising. This is a pretty expensive farm. 1845 stun cuffs. 95 mark hollows. So a lot of this you'll notice is the same, where you're kind of just going down through the list. Now, this is different, where you've got the Mark 1 raid currency. And for that, we can kind of come down here and we can enter it. I'll do it all at once, but just to kind of give you an idea, we can start punching that in there. And like I do with Get 1 and 2, which I believe was in there for the spreadsheet when I recorded a video last time, now we've just basically got the same formulas for Mark 1, 2, and 3 raid currency set up. Okay, so 1882 stun guns. Was that Mark 5? That was. So kind of keep track of that. Droid calls, we'll punch that in later. Same with that other stuff. We're all starting to get into the shard chop currency, so we can enter that stuff in as well. It's kind of situational. I mean, with a big GL farm like this, if you only need 48 or 60 of something, you probably will just passively get it. So I'm not sure if there is a benefit to entering that in as well, but I'll go ahead and do that just for completeness. We, of course, will need a lot of shock pods. That hopefully is not a shock to anyone. Nubian techs as well. So we got the 1558 Byron plants. Sometimes you will need to buy those just because you go through the phase from G1 to relics so quickly now. It's kind of just staggering. It's where I'm getting hung up myself is on signal data, which I suspect is probably the same for everyone. Now, maybe with some exceptions. Depends on your situation. Cybernetics, I have not needed to worry about cybernetics in a very long time. I'm not sure if that will change, but I'm leaving it in there just because, you might run into a situation where you need those. Same with visors and wristbands. I have not needed to farm those in months. But, if your situation requires that you do, then they will be in the template. I'm going to leave them in there even if it seems like they don't add any value, because they may, depending on your situation. So notice I'm putting in the droid calls. I'm planning to farm them with shard chop currency. The reason being, unless I need that shard chop currency, unless we have too much allocated for it, I would rather spend more guild currency on bronzium wiring mats and put as much as possible towards that, so I don't have to worry about it. Okay, so let's go through and get the Mark 1 currency stuff in. We already did the Comlink, so we're not going to worry about that. Back to gels. That is one of the things we actually are going to get with guild currency because it is very expensive with the Mark 1 raid currency. The Mark 5 droid calls, that's fine. How much was that? 979. Alright. And detonators, those are totally fine to get with Mark 1. We did need some AFGAMs. AFGAM? Whatever, medpacks. We need 250 furnaces, so we can punch that in. I don't really worry about the Mark 4 or 5 keypads. I generally always seem to get them by the end of the farm. Your mileage may vary. Same with the Mark 6 syringes, I just generally don't have to worry about that. Mark 7 detonators, I don't have that listed in the shard shop, but we don't need that many of them. I'm not going to bother adding. 386 NOAA binoculars, we are going to need those for sure. Okay. We do need the Mark 7 scanners. We're going to need a ton of those, so 688. And I would fill out the 153 bioimplants. And I'll just do data pads. I'll finish that thought in a second. I would fill out the Zetas more, but I think you get the general idea. It's pretty straightforward how to use that, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time on that. Okay, I think that's it for Mark 1 currency. Okay, so for Mark 12, we are going to fill it out, and then I think we can start reducing, same as you historically would do originally with my spreadsheet. 1, 2, 3, 4, there were syringes in there, yep. Probably scanners as well, yeah. No shield generators, and pulses are okay, so right away we can get rid of these. We don't need these. We don't need these. Now, one thing you'll notice is I added Mark 6 med packs, Mark 7 syringes, and Mark 8 scanners to this section, and that's because like Liquido recommends farming those about half of the time, G12 gear the other half, and you need a lot of Mark 6 med packs, so it could be the case that you will need to manually farm those to some degree. If you can spend all your get one on med packs, then maybe you won't need to, but that's why I have that in there in case of something like that. Okay. And then we'll leave that there for now just for completeness. Now, obviously, it's going to take you 1,000 days. So we'll start kind of trying to modify this. And I've noticed it's a little more temperamental. Remember, I have this in there to try to avoid circular references. If there's a better way you can think of, feel free to let me know. So as it stands here, so we're at 277 days. Now, the way I have this calculated, you'll notice 64 plus 276 is not 276. I have it set to the max of these two because you are going to need to farm, should that be? Yes, because it's 7B light side normal. You're going to have to farm the shock pod node for bronzing wiring materials or shock pods. It's just, if you need to hit it 276 days for the bronzing wirings, then by definition, if the shock pods requires less days of farming than that, you will meet that. So I just have it set to the max of the two. Notice that we are going to come up short on Mark 3 stun cups and Mark 5 stun guns, so that's good to know. Now, I would fill out this part as well, with like the Cantina farm, the Fleet farm, the normal farm. I'm not going to for this video just because I've already explained how to do that. I don't think there's any benefit to rehashing that. So how do we get this bronzing wiring down? Because like right now, that is the biggest bottleneck that we're facing. So that's where the guild currency comes in. Now, the GC, that's guild currency. So we are going to accumulate quite a lot for the farm, and we don't need that much for the Mark IV Bacta gels. So that's where we can start. I just have a placeholder in here as Mark V weapon mods. You don't have to just buy Mark V weapon mods. Anything that converts to bronziums, whether it's Mark 4, 5, or 6 weapon mods or the Mark 4 bioimplants, that's fine. So just to get us started, let's put in 200 there. Still have quite a lot of general guild currency left over, and that, yeah, as you can see, reduced it quite a bit. So now we can see if we can try to massage it a little bit closer. So now we're down to 197 days. Now notice injector handles are going to start to become a bottleneck. That's fine. But we still have quite a lot of guild currency that we're going to accumulate in this time. And also that is calculated, by the way, from the challenges. I figure we get about 1,500 a week, about 100 a day, roughly, for 6 days. And then the other day you get like 1,000 or something like that. So I just estimated 1,500. And also from territory war, we figure we're getting about 1,900 every territory war. So this is where that calculation as far as what we're accumulating comes in, or comes from. So let's bump this up to 400 of bronzium wiring pieces that we're going to buy from guild currency. That gets us a lot closer to what we need versus what we're accumulating. So that's all well and good. So let's see if we can try to get this a little closer. Okay, so we're at like 150, roughly, basically 5 months is where we're at. We have a bunch of red over here because we're gonna come up short on carbs and stun cups and stun guns, but that's where the Mark 1 raid currency comes in. And that's fine. So the shock pods, it's going to take us about 135 days. I generally would not. I agree with Liquido. I wouldn't spend get 2 or get 3 on shock pods, because maybe you can reduce it by 5 or 10 days, but then you're just going to experience a bronzium wiring crunch a lot sooner, and it's just not going to end well. So for Carbonis, we'll need about 1,000 for most of it. So I'm just going to earmark 1,000, and also we don't need Mark 4 hulls, so I'm just going to get rid of this. Same with the Mark 8. We actually are probably going to need to buy Mark 8 bioimplants, so I'll keep that. Get rid of this, same as what I've done before, and this is personal preference. I just like to remove clutter where I can. You are welcome to just leave it here. It doesn't really matter. I'm going to keep that there. I generally would not spend Mark 2 raid currency on like Mark 6 med packs, but we need a lot of med packs, so, you know, there's that. Okay, so we're good on Carbonis, so now for stun cups, roughly like 950. I just put 1,000 for both of those. That's roughly what we're going to need. That takes care of that. We need bioimplants, call it 500. Now, as far as keeping track of these, like when you buy 100 Carbonis, I wouldn't necessarily say you need to go back and like remove 100 Carbonis from this. This is just giving you a general idea of how much you're going to need to buy with Mark 1 raid currency during a farm to meet the guild requirements. How you manage it and how often you do is obviously up to you. Because, I mean, once you have it locked in, you're generally going to know what you're going to need to do. Okay, so, and notice I just, to make up to 50, roughly 50 Cairo comps that I'm going to be short, I'm just going to use get 3 currency. Okay, so now we're green across the board for that. Now, we can reduce a little bit further because you notice our bottleneck is with normal energy. It's not with Cantina. And that's with me doing 3 Cantina refreshes every single day. If you can't do that, like say if you could only do 7 a week, then your bottleneck would be Cantina. So at this point, you'd probably be done, because like say if I put in 192 here, I mean, it's still going to reduce a little, but, you know, and then we're done. You're at 182 days. You can't reduce your Cantina if you're constrained on that, so there wouldn't be any reason to try to whittle down the normal energy. But, you know, we're going to go through this exercise assuming that you can max out Cantina refreshes and you need to reduce the normal energy a bit further. Now you notice the fleet is at 0. This is because this is calculating how much G12 gear you're getting from a combination of TB, Conquest, and then KDR is Crate Dragon Raid. I guess it'll just be Raid since um, we didn't have it very long before it's suddenly going to go away. But this is based off a calculation of 3600. Feel free to tinker with this based on how much you're actually getting, because obviously it will probably be different than what it is for me. It's a good. This is a good number for a for a mid game player though. And this is based as far as like how much Mark 1, 2, and 3 rate currency we're getting. This is based off hitting the 25 million box in, I believe it's 25 million in Crate Dragon Raid. So that's where those numbers came from. And this is assuming we're running 7.5 raids per month. Okay, so that's why this is 0, because we're getting so much Mark 2 raid currency that you could, I mean, obviously you want to farm the furnaces and HoloLens and keypads to get the Bronzium wiring mats, but you could buy all of this with Mark 2 raid currency if you wanted to, so that's why it's not really a constraint. Now you notice short shop currency we need a ton of, so I'm just going to tweak that, 235 versus close enough. You get that from opening Bronzium packs. So we're fine on short shop currency. That also means that I don't need get 1 or get 2 for that matter, at least for Kairos. So we can get rid of this stuff. Of course, that's going to break some of these, so that's fine. So interestingly enough, the Kairos don't end up being a huge bottleneck for this. At least not for me. Yeah, we can just get rid of the get 1 because I don't need it for the Java farm. So, again, your mileage may vary. And we can fix this last ref here. Also, these notes, I tried to distill what I could from Liquido's new gear farming guide. Like, this is everything you could possibly need for each farm. If you don't need the note, you can just get rid of it. Again, just to try to minimize clutter. Okay. So the things that we can basically reduce would be the injectors, obviously, and then Bronziums. I mean, that's basically it, right? Because we're pretty much at the limit of what we're going to get for guild currency. So for injectors, and it's in increments of 8 that you buy, so we can do that. We can do, I think it's 8 times 9. 80, 88, 96 would be a multiple of 8. And then we can just do 16. I mean, that's basically it for the injectors. So then you can reduce it further. And then obviously you get into this exercise, well, now it's an even shorter farm, so you need to go back and fix the carbs, and it's fine. Stun guns, 18. I mean, that's close enough. It's not, I'm not worried about it. But Kairos, you're going to need a bit more Kairos. Now you're probably going to need to buy 100 with Mark III currency, and my OCD is getting bothered by the red, so I guess I'm just going to do this. And you can buy increments of 10, so you can actually do that anyways. So that's kind of it. I mean, basically the same premise. The spreadsheet is showing you where your bottlenecks are, and then you're trying to reduce them down as far as you can. And because now the way this is, again, it's a max, right? The injectors are not on the same nodes, so it's not either or. So the shock pod's 139 plus the 3 days you would be spending on the injectors, unless you added more to the get 2, which you probably would, honestly. But 3 plus 139 is 142, hence this. 142 is greater than 50, so you will get all the Bronzium wirings you need in this time frame from hitting that shock pod node nonstop, and that will get you the Java farm based on these gear levels in 4.77 months. So that's basically the new and improved spreadsheet. That's how to use it. A few things to point out. The Zinbittle, like all this stuff per month, this is based on what you're getting from territory, from rote, and from conquest. So like Zin Biddles, I usually get crate 5 in conquest, so I don't get Zin Biddles from that. I do get 3 Zin Biddles per rote, so that's where the 3 times 2 comes from. So you're going to want to set these values. Injectors, still a great way to get it from conquest, but you're probably going to want to spend that on signal data now. And you do want to get as many challenge tier 1, 2, and 3s on sim as possible, because that will highly influence your farming time, both for injectors and Kairos as well as route maps. And you'll want to update these values as well. Nothing shocking there. And I think that's about it. One thing about Mark III hollows, you'll notice that this is a lot of stuff, but basically it's calculating that in this time frame you will not need to get any rhodiums. The reason being is that, and this is probably going to be true for a lot of farms for both the rhodiums and electriums. So like, for example, I'm getting 39 rhodiums a month, 28 electriums a month. Also, you get them from challenge tier 2 and 3 as well. That's why getting those on sim is so important, because over like a 5-month timeline, you're going to get so many that you won't even have to worry about those. The only things you're typically going to have to worry about will be your Bronzium wirings, your Zin Biddles, and of course your mats above that. Now, the Zin Biddles also, at least my experience, generally aren't going to be an issue. You can buy those with Mark III currency. It's not, I think I have a note in there, it's not the greatest. Well, actually, no, it's the impulse debts that have a terrible conversion rate, but the Zin Biddles are fine. You also can use your excess Mark II raid currency to buy Zin Biddle mats, so you can always do that. But anywho, hopefully this helps with the new version of the spreadsheet. I mean, it's progressively gone through changes, but this was substantial enough changes that I want to kind of update how to do this for anyone who is using my spreadsheet. And that's pretty much it. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. Otherwise, happy farming.